I'm very bullish and feel like we have the best system for interscholastic athletics in the nation. We need to continue to create awareness with our own people of how special our system is. We want to be the leader in the nation when it comes to student safety. Everything that we do every day impacts students, not just today, but in the future as well.
Hey everybody, it's Pat Cohan with the THS-ADA, and for this Director's Cut, we're sitting down with Ray Zepeda, the Athletic Director for the UIL. Throughout his time at the UIL, he has focused on strengthening relationships with schools, modernizing processes, and protecting the experience for more than 1 million student athletes across the state. In this conversation, we'll discuss protecting the future of Texas athletics, student safety and evolving challenges, and what makes the Texas model unique. Before we dive into this conversation, we do want to thank our partner in this episode, and that's Snap Mobile. Snap Mobile helps schools and athletic programs simplify fundraising, communication, and group management, allowing coaches and athletic directors to spend more time serving students and building successful programs. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this THS-ADA Director's Cut.
Ray Zepeda, Athletic Director for the UIL. Year three.
Year three.
What are some of the highlights, from when it started to your journey with the UIL to where we're at now? What are some of the really things you're proud of?
Well, I think everything good that we've done has really revolved around trying to strengthen relationships with our schools, to really communicate well, collaborate well, not only with our schools, but with the professional and coaching associations, to try to build trust, to positively impact students. And so whether that's strengthening our student safety initiatives, really taking a critical look on everything that kind of touches that. We want to be the leader in the nation when it comes to student safety, trying to modernize our systems and processes to allow for us to be able to adapt to kind of an ever-evolving and changing landscape when it comes to public education. I think those three things, more so than anything, just are the things that we're really proud of.
Well, specifically on the ever-evolving side, recently, and I read on this a little bit, but essentially, you guys are able to make adjustments in real time almost, instead of having to wait for a legislative council approval. Is that accurate?
Well, I don't know that that's fully accurate. I mean, we still lean on our legislative council to establish rules and processes. I tell people every day when they complain about the UIL is that really, I don't really make rules. I administer rules that are made by our legislative council. And so we depend on them. We know that they're listening to their constituents, the other superintendents that are in their area at their classification. And we believe that their counsel is typically best for us.
And so for this 2025-2026 school year, as we come into June here, we kind of finished, but we're getting ready for the next one.
I don't know that we ever finish. We talk about that we symbolically get to the finish line, and then we get in the starting blocks and take off.
What headline do we want to maybe summarize the 2025-2026 school year as it pertains to high school sports in Texas?
Yeah, I think we're continue to navigate change while protecting what matters most for Texas students. And we want to protect the experience for all student athletes. We have over 1 million student athletes here in the state of Texas, and I think that when the accumulation of our daily decisions and actions really should reflect that we're trying to do what's best for all students. And I think it's important for administrators today to realize that everything that we do every day impacts students, not just today, but in the future as well. I'm very bullish and feel like we have the best system for interscholastic athletics in the nation. And I think that's a privilege that needs to be protected.
Now, I know Phil Rison's here from the NIAAA. What discussions do you have with him on the national level to maybe spread this great model that Texas has to other states across the country?
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that because I had an opportunity here to present to kick the conference off, and Phil was in there. And one of the things that I did was to talk about some of the situations in other states and how we differ, because I don't know that a lot of our coaches and athletic administrators really understand how Texas is different and unique. It was neat and interesting to get Phil's perspective on that after the presentation. And I think the takeaway for me is that we need to continue to create awareness with our own people of how special our system is. And we need to communicate into our communities about how protecting the experience for all kids is important.
100%. And when you look at your role in that big job of protecting all kids. I mean, you sit on top of a big mountain, and a lot of people trying to do this well. And being in year 3, do you already know the 3 headaches that you're going to be running into this fall?
Yeah, I
already?
don't like the word headaches, because but I would say challenges. So we're continuing to try to again stay on top of student safety. I think that's a priority as
It's always going to be there.
year 4. We've talked a lot about trying to make sure that while we're proud of the system that we do have, that it's evolving, it's changing in a responsible manner, so that the principles of that system are not being compromised, but we are adjusting to an ever-evolving landscape within public education, that we listen, to what's going on out there and how can we best serve the next generation of students. I think those are the kind of the priorities of kind of where we're at. And as we approach the 4th year and start trying to get into 26, 27 and try to define what that looks like, I think those are some of the priorities as we try to work in front of some of those challenges and try to really explain and promote education and community-based athletics.
You are so good. The way you shift the word from headache to challenge, and it all seems possible when you speak.
Well, I think one of the things we have to do is it's easy to identify, and I think it's important to identify challenges. If you can't identify them, if you don't get your arms around them, you can't fix them. But I do think you have to start looking into where is your area of control? What can you do to within your power to make things better? And I think sometimes, especially today, we get caught up in the headache instead of, well, hey, what can I do to make this better for today and tomorrow?
People avoid a headache. People go after challenges, and that's kind of what the way your mindset. I can already see in your head, I'm going to go after, I'm going to get this challenge. I'm not going to try to avoid this stuff that's coming up. And that tells me a lot about how you led as an athletic director at Cy-Fair, as a football coach, and why you're doing an unbelievable job.
Well, I think it's a reflection of what I did for over 20 years of a 33-year career as I was a coach. And I think that that's what coaches do. They attack challenge. They build game plans to try to navigate and find a way to be successful, maybe sometimes in spite of some difficult odds. And I hope that 20 years of training as a coach is reflected in what I do every day as an athletic administrator now.
And so for the coaches, I think there's a new PAPF requirements this year. Could you just lay out for anybody that's interested what they need to know about this new system?
I would say the biggest thing is it's not, I wouldn't focus on the process. I would focus on the perspective. One of the things that we tried to talk to athletic directors about in this opening session is that we all desire a consistent system, but typically there are very different perspectives around the same eligibility situations, and that we need to apply more consistency of perspective when we're evaluating these individual eligibility situations so that we do get consistent results. And so we're encouraging coaches and athletic directors not to think about sending and or the role of a receiving school, but we're trying to come up with a process that reflects same type of questions and leads to same type of perspective, no matter where your input is to that process.
Well, it's the theme of this interview is adapting and changing and trying to stay ahead of issues. And that's exactly making adjustments to that PAPF requirements are
correct. And I would believe this. Again, I mentioned the power of a coach, and coaches kind of adjust to the moment. I think it's also reframing for our coaches is that while we all hunger to win, and it's always about the challenge right in front of our face, it's also about what is this system that we're developing through the accumulation of our daily choices and action. What does that look like as far as to what system we're going to be handing off to athletes 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road? We mentioned some of the other states and some of the political challenges that they have there. They haven't successfully been able to navigate some of that. And so I think it's important for us to kind of take a step back, get away from the perspective of the moment, and have maybe a larger field of view of what we're all really trying to accomplish together.
One of the challenges that came up a few years ago was the homeschool bill. There was a lot of campaigning on, is it right, is it wrong, or should this happen or not? It happened. We're in our first full year of it. What was the result of it? After all this, where are we at with that?
I think the biggest thing is that I've learned from watching school districts navigate that is that it's important to ask questions when a parent comes to the school and tells you that their student is a homeschool student. And what I mean by that is a lot of students are virtual school students that are having instruction delivered to them in a homeschool environment. The eligibility rules regarding a virtual school student is very much different from a homeschool student. And so there has been a lot of confusion amongst schools, and sometimes not even knowing what specific questions to ask. Somewhat clouds sometimes the eligibility situation. So we're really trying to do a great job of creating awareness of our schools, making sure that they're asking the right questions, and then leading to the appropriate eligibility implication depending on whether that student is a virtual school student or indeed a homeschool student.
So just being more intentional with
I think when you're onboarding students and evaluating, is this student really a homeschool student? Is it a virtual school student? I think that's going to be a big challenge for the next generation of educators. Is what school is and looks like. I think is going to be very different, and it needs to be. I mean, to best fit a changing population, we need to be adapting as educators. But with that also comes very different eligibility implications, so that we can hold on to some of those community-based expectations that we pride ourselves on as Texans.
One of the challenges we're also seeing is a lot of, kind of pop-up local IMG-like academies where a student might get virtual schooling and then they'll leave their high school and just play for an academy full year-round, 5-6 hours of training, but they're also starting to try to get into UIL competition. What is that going to happen?
Well, it's hard for me to really understand what might happen 5 years, 10 years down the road. I do think that parents always have to do what's best for their individual children. I'm a parent of 3 myself, and I don't think that anybody would fully understand better than I would what might be best for my kids. But as parents make those choices, I do think it's important that we keep in mind the experience for all kids. And what competitive equity looks like, and the impact of these decisions that are made not just individually but holistically, system-wide. And so I would always hope that the schools and the programs that are participating in the UIL reflect the things that have always made Texas athletics special, that they're community-based, that they're education-based, that coaches are embedded in an educational environment. It's not somebody showing up after a few hours of instruction on a computer and then going out there and teaching them. I hope it's always a reflection of community and belonging and the things that public educators in Texas do quite well.
Do you know why the U.S., and I don't know the answer, but why across the world, sport is not connected to education? Why is it in the U.S.?
I don't know, but I know what I see. And what I see is that the link back to community makes for a system of athletics here in Texas that I think a lot of other states are yearning for. And when you look at larger society type situations,
I think people are looking for connection. We're losing it more and more.
So that's why I think we need to be more intentional about the decisions that we're making and trying to reinforce community, belonging, togetherness, and not be about processes that tend to divide and isolate.
That's what I probably worry about the most is everything getting so virtual, so digital that we lose
connection is always what a great teacher does. Understanding and seeing students for who they are is what great public schools do. And as I mentioned to our athletic directors today about the system for interscholastic athletics that we're handing off to children in the next 20 to 25 years, I hope that we're still able to say that great public schools are still about that type of connection, seeing students for who they are, and then instructing them on an individual basis.
I love that. Now, as we go into this next year, what is something personally you're going to focus on improving just yourself? What's something that's top of mind right now for you?
I think trying to keep appropriate perspective myself. I mean, It's easy when you're in a job like ours. A lot of times what we hear about are challenges and problems, and that's not really a reflection of what's happening at 1,500 schools on a day in, day out basis. Yeah. It's important to remain positive about what's happening here, and that was one of the messages I tried to give the athletic directors today, is that no matter what challenges that we face, we still have really the best of the best system and something really to be proud of. Best highly trained kids, most prepared coaches that are embedded in an educational environment throughout the day and throughout the entirety of the year. tremendous facilities, great and most very professionally trained athletic administrators, and really a passion for Texas athletics that's really unmatched anywhere in the nation.
Ray, you're doing a phenomenal job. You crushed this interview. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for just giving me a few minutes to talk about something that I'm super passionate about.